It's merely a stepping stone to really change the way we live and maximize human potential.
Number 20, Volkswagen Emissions Scandal. The auto industry was shaken back in 2015 when the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency revealed that Volkswagen had been cheating on emissions tests. The German car manufacturer had equipped its diesel cars with illegal software that could detect when the vehicles were being tested in a controlled environment. This software would then alter the normal performance of the car, significantly reducing its nitrogen oxide emissions to meet the legal standards.
So the car would detect, using this defeat device, when it was getting an emissions test. It would use more fuel, make the NOx trap work well, emissions would be fine, but then you get on the road, the device turns off.
However, during regular driving, the vehicles were emitting up to 40 times more nitrogen oxide pollutants, way above the legal limit. The scandal cost the company over $33 billion and resulted in the resignation of their CEO, as well as the recall of nearly 500,000 cars in the US alone.
I am deeply sorry that we have broken this trust.
Number 19, MGM's treatment of Judy Garland. After performing in a vaudeville group with her sisters, Judy Garland signed a contract with Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer in her early teens. She quickly rose to fame with the studio, starring in iconic films like Babes in Arms and The Wizard of Oz.
We must be over the rainbow.
But while the Hollywood starlet was blossoming on the screen, her reported treatment by the studio behind the scenes was nothing short of heinous. Garland was apparently shamed for her physical appearance and placed on a strict diet to make her lose weight. She also claimed to have been forced to take amphetamines and barbiturates, which she eventually became dependent on.
She was using a cocktail of different prescription medications, including tranquilizers and painkillers.
Her lifelong struggle with substance misuse culminated in her death in 1969 of an accidental barbiturates overdose. Number 18, Giuliana Rancic's comments about Zendaya. Back in 2015, Zendaya was just a Disney star, best known for her titular performance in the sitcom KC Undercover. At the Oscars that year, Zendaya appeared on the red carpet wearing her hair in dreadlocks. The look certainly didn't earn the admiration of Fashion Police co-host Giuliana Rancic, who remarked that she looked like she smelled of patchouli oil or weed. Rancic's comments were immediately criticized for being racially insensitive and perpetuating stereotypes about African-American hairstyles.
You need to call Zendaya, Giuliana, and apologize.
These sentiments were echoed by Zendaya, who responded to Rancic in an Instagram post. Facing mounting backlash, Rancic acknowledged her mistake and publicly apologized to Zendaya on Twitter and on the air. Number 17, WeWork IPO disaster. Prior to its IPO filing in August 2019, co-working space provider WeWork was hailed as a tech unicorn with a $47 billion valuation. However, once the company went public, a litany of issues began to emerge.
Adam had the trademark for the word we, and when they rebranded as the We Company, he had his company pay him almost $6 million to use the word we.
Investors questioned WeWork's business model, which raised doubts about the company's ability to turn a profit. Further scrutiny was made into the controversial behavior of then CEO and co-founder Adam Neumann. Neumann's outsized control of the company, as well as his questionable financial dealings, eroded investor confidence. He eventually stepped down as CEO and was bought out from the board by the company's biggest investor, SoftBank. WeWork ended up laying off over 2,000 employees and saw their valuation slash to around $10 billion. Number 16, the BCCI scandal. The Bank of Credit and Commerce International, or BCCI, was a Pakistani bank founded in 1972. It grew rapidly, attracting high-profile clients and investments due to its lax regulation and financial privacy.
This indictment spells out the largest bank fraud in world financial history.
This way, BCCI was able to keep the details about its clients and transactions secret. The lid was blown off, however, in the 1980s when investigators in the US and UK raised suspicions of money laundering and a host of illegal activities.
When millions have been lost by small depositors, small businesses, local authorities, we deserve better than that.
Investigations also revealed that the CIA had kept secret accounts with the bank, which were used in financing multiple covert operations, including the Iran-Contra affair. After a sting operation by the U.S. Customs fully exposed BCCI's money laundering practices, the bank was forced to close in 1991.
We still don't know for sure what BCCI owned secretly.
Number 15, the celebrity private photo leak. Jennifer Lawrence, Kate Upton, Kim Kardashian, Ariana Grande. What do these names have in common? Not only are they A-list Hollywood stars, but all four women were targets in the infamous photo hack of 2014. The incident saw the unauthorized release of hundreds of private explicit pictures of numerous celebrities, most of whom were women. The hackers had gained access into the celebrities' iCloud accounts through phishing attacks that revealed their login details.
What's your mother's maiden name? What's the name of your first pet? When you're talking about a celebrity, you could probably just get all this information from their Wikipedia page.
Many initially questioned the authenticity of the pictures, but some of the victims, including Lawrence and Upton, quickly confirmed that they were real. Following an FBI investigation, 5 men were arrested and convicted of criminal charges related to the hacking. They all received varying prison sentences.
Judge Charles Kokoris called Majerzik, quote, genuinely remorseful and imposed the plea agreement sentence of 9 months.
Number 14, the SeaWorld Scandal.
When you look into their eyes, you know somebody is home. Somebody's looking back.
The 2013 film Blackfish documented the life of Tilikum, a captive orca held at the theme park chain SeaWorld that killed its trainer in 2010. The documentary exposed the poor treatment of orcas in SeaWorld parks and the consequences of holding them in such conditions.
You know, Tamari made mistakes. The most important one was interacting with whales without a spotter.
Upon its release, Blackfish was praised by critics and activists, but was labeled as inaccurate and misleading by SeaWorld. The documentary had a negative impact on the park, leading to a decline in attendance and a subsequent loss in revenue.
Captivity causes emotional, mental problems and also physical problems.
Physical problems like droopy dorsal fins from spending too much time at the surface.
The fact that the company has since recovered from these losses suggests that many may have forgotten about the scandal. Although SeaWorld initially pledged to end live orca shows in their programming, they brought them back in 2020.
They are intelligent, so when they are in a box, it's boring.
Number 13, Johnson & Johnson baby powder recall. For decades, pharmaceutical giant Johnson & Johnson has been dogged by thousands of lawsuits from people alleging to have developed cancer after using their baby powder. The lawsuits claim that the company knew that the talc-based product was contaminated with asbestos, a known carcinogen, and did nothing about it.
I am 100% certain that it caused my cancer.
In October of 2019, the company announced a voluntary recall of 33,000 bottles of the powder after FDA regulators found trace amounts of asbestos in it. Since the recall, Johnson & Johnson has pledged to transition from talc-based to cornstarch-based powders by 2023. Regardless, the company has continued to face a growing number of lawsuits with about $9 billion set aside for settlements.
It would be one of the largest product liability settlements in U.S. history.
Number 12, pharmaceutical companies and the opioid epidemic. Speaking of Johnson & Johnson, they, as well as other opioid makers and distributors, have faced several lawsuits related to the drug crisis. Multiple investigations revealed that the companies played a significant role in fueling the epidemic by downplaying the risks of their products and engaging in aggressive marketing practices. This led to the deaths of more than 650,000 Americans. In July 2021, Johnson & Johnson, alongside McKesson, Cardinal Health Inc., and AmerisourceBergen Corp. reached a settlement with multiple U.S. states to pay $26 billion to address the crisis.
Justice was not served for the families who have lost loved ones and who've experienced such devastation.
Other companies like Purdue Pharma and Teva Pharmaceuticals also received hefty fines for their involvement. Purdue Pharma rebranded in 2021 after reaching an $8 billion settlement the previous year. Number 11, Koreagate. One of the lesser-known political scandals in American history occurred just 2 years after the monumental event that was Watergate. In 1976, it was revealed that certain figures in the South Korean government had bribed some members of the U.S. Congress in an attempt to buy their support for the country's interests. The operation was allegedly financed by the Korea Central Intelligence Agency through a businessman and lobbyist named Tungsan Park. 10 Democratic members of Congress were implicated in the scandal, although only one person, Richard T. Hanna of California, served jail time.
Now, the commissions paid to Mr. Park during this 7-year period amounted to more than $9 million.
Park himself faced multiple federal charges, but he was spared after testifying against certain members of Congress. Number 10, 2010 Vatican employee sex scandal. In March of 2010, the Italian newspaper La Repubblica published transcripts of police wiretaps that were part of a corruption probe in certain shady construction deals. The documents would, however, expose a gay prostitution ring operated by 2 Vatican employees. The 2 men implicated in the scandal were Thomas Chinedu Ehiem, a member of the Vatican's elite choir, and Angelo Balducci, who was one of then Pope Benedict's ceremonial ushers. Ehiem had helped Balducci procure male sex workers in what was described by police as an organized network. As the Catholic Church deems both sex work and being gay is sinful, both men were dismissed by the institution. Balducci went on to face criminal charges in the corruption case. Number 9, Nexium cult scandal.
As a group, collectively, we can buy in bulk and we can save a lot of money.
What began as a self-help group ultimately devolved into a terrifying cult centered around the company's founder, Keith Raniere. Raniere co-founded Nexium in 1998, and it eventually grew into a 700-member-strong organization that included many high-profile figures such as Hollywood actors and the son of a former Mexican president.
To Vanguard.
Thank you, Vanguard. As the leader, Raniere exploited his members, coercing many of them into having sex with him and even branding some with his initials. After the group's practices were uncovered, Raniere was arrested on multiple criminal charges, including racketeering and sex trafficking. He was sentenced to 120 years in prison. Also implicated was Smallville actress Allison Mack, who received a 3-year prison sentence for her involvement as a recruiter.
She was a monster and a sociopath.
Number 8. The unusual deaths at Foxconn. Foxconn is a Taiwanese contract electrics manufacturer that produces a significant proportion of the world's consumer electronics. The company has worked with Google and Apple, manufacturing some of their products such as the iPhone and the Pixel devices. In 2010, Foxconn drew significant controversy after 15 of its workers took their own lives at some of their factories in China. Harsh working conditions, long hours, low wages, and high-pressure production reportedly led to stress and despair among workers. After denying claims that they were running a sweatshop, Foxconn began requiring employees to sign waivers absolving the company of any liability if they ended their lives. They were hit with another wave of backlash and eventually recalled the waivers.
The company is treating us okay. The company organizes activities for us.
Number 7. Wells Fargo fake accounts fraud. American bank Wells Fargo found themselves in hot water when an investigation by the LA Times revealed that employees created millions of fake accounts for customers without their consent. The fraudulent practices were carried out by branch managers and bankers in order to meet impossible sales quotas set by the company's executives.
So it's pretty much like you signing a blank paper, and then the rest of the information is filled in, saying, oh, this is just to reopen your savings account.
Although the article was first published in 2013, it only became national news after Wells Fargo was hit with a $185 million fine, partly by the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau in 2016. As a result of the scandal, the bank fired more than 5,000 employees, and CEO John Stumpf resigned his position. Wells Fargo has since paid billions of dollars in fines and settlements. Number 6. Lowe's Sex Tape Scandal. In the late 80s, Rob Lowe's acting career had just begun to blossom, with roles in films like The Outsiders and About Last Night. Things took a downturn for him, however, after he was embroiled in a sex tape scandal at the 1988 Democratic National Convention in Georgia.
If you don't want to go back to work, don't go.
Honey, it's what I do.
A night before the event, Lowe engaged in sexual activities with 2 women, one of whom was a teenager. A videotape of the encounter was leaked to the press the following year. The scandal had significant implications for Lowe's career, although he faced no criminal charges as the girl was above the age of consent in Georgia. He was able to rehabilitate his image in the 90s thanks largely to The West Wing.
I didn't make any money off of it like everybody does.
No.
I was too stupid.
Number 5. Michael Vick's dogfighting ring. Michael Vick was a star quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons when his involvement in an illegal dogfighting ring came to light in 2007. While conducting a drug investigation into Vick's cousin, Virginia state officials found evidence that led them to conclude that the NFL player had run the operation on his property in rural Surrey County.
It was wrong. I feel tremendous hurt behind what happened. And I should have took the initiative to stop it all.
In August 2007, Vick pleaded guilty to sponsoring the dogfighting venture, known as Bad News Kennels, and was suspended indefinitely by the NFL. He served 21 months in federal prison and was released in July of 2009. Following his release from prison, Vick was reinstated by the NFL and signed a 6-year, $100 million contract with the Philadelphia Eagles in 2011. Number 4. 2015 FIFA Corruption Crisis. One of the most shocking scandals to rock the world of football involved multiple high-ranking executives in the sport's governing body, FIFA.
For us, it's a hard time. It's not nice to be here in front of you and try to explain something that is not nice.
In May 2015, an extensive investigation by the FBI and the IRS resulted in the indictment of 14 FIFA officials and associates on charges of wire fraud, racketeering, and money laundering. The roots of the investigation lay in marketing rights for FIFA games, sponsorship contracts, as well as the selection process for hosting the World Cup.
The winner is Qatar!
Authorities allege that the officials had collected millions of dollars in bribes to influence voting decisions and the issuing of those rights. Although then FIFA president wasn't charged, he resigned from his position shortly after winning re-election. Number 3. The Chappaquiddick Incident. On the night of July 18, 1969, Senator Ted Kennedy left a party on Chappaquiddick Island in Massachusetts with 28-year-old campaign worker Mary Jo Kopechne. Shortly after, Kennedy's car veered off a dirt bridge and overturned into a pond. While Kennedy was able to free himself from the car and swim to safety, Kopechne wasn't as lucky. The senator failed to report the accident until the next morning, leaving Kopechne's body underwater for about 10 hours before it was pulled out.
Brought him to Chappie with these two other guys. He seemed sullen. You could tell something had happened.
Kennedy pleaded guilty to minor criminal charges and received a 2-month jail sentence, which was suspended. Despite inadvertently taking a young woman's life, Kennedy remained in the Senate until his death in 2009.
I regard as indefensible the fact that I did not report the accident to the police immediately.
Number 2, Turing Pharmaceuticals drug price hike. In 2015, Turing Pharmaceuticals came under fire after raising the price of Daraprim, an anti-parasitic drug used by cancer and AIDS patients, by 5,000%. The drug went from $13.50 to $750 a pill after the company purchased its U.S. marketing rights. Despite drawing the ire of the public, who considered the decision an example of corporate greed at the expense of patients' lives, then Turing CEO Martin Shkreli defended the price hike.
We've agreed to lower the price of Daraprim to a point that is more affordable and is able to allow the company to make a profit, but a very small profit. And we think these changes will be welcome.
Just a few months later, however, he resigned from his position when he was arrested on fraud charges in connection with his former company. He was sentenced to 7 years in prison but granted early release in 2022. Number 1, the Iran-Contra affair. During Ronald Reagan's second term in office, his administration blatantly broke the law in what became known as the Iran-Contra Scandal. This affair involved 2 major covert operations. Firstly, administration officials sold weapons to Iran in exchange for the release of 7 American hostages held in Lebanon. In doing so, they contravened the arms embargo which had been placed on the Middle Eastern nation.
What began as a strategic opening to Iran deteriorated in its implementation into trading arms for hostages.
Then they diverted part of the profits from this sale to fund the anti-communist Contras in Nicaragua, in direct violation of an amendment passed by Congress. Reagan was cleared of any wrongdoing, and all administration officials who were indicted or convicted were pardoned during the presidency of his VP, George H.W. Bush. Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from Watch Mojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.